Welcome to the next edition of Manrina's Mentorship podcast. And this month, I'm really excited to have with me the wonderful Claire Nightingale. Lovely to have you here. For those of you that don't know, and if you don't know, where have you been? Claire is probably the top Invisalign orthodontist in the country, if not the world. She is my go-to when I need advice on what to do, or when I have a difficult or complex, I won't say difficult, complex patient that I need the expert to take over and to handle for me. So Claire, it's always your wealth of knowledge, and it's always wonderful to spend time picking your brain. But today we are not going to pick your brain on clinical matters. Today we want to talk about the lady behind the mouths, behind the teeth. I want to know more about your journey and how you got to baby Claire to the lady, the force that you are today.
Wow, well, thank you so much for that overwhelming introduction, Manrina. That's very flattering. My interest in dentistry stems from the fact that I had serial extractions, gas in the dental chair when I was a very small child.
Oh, so tell me, why did you have those? Did you have a sweet habit?
Oh, well, I was crowded,
fine.
I grew up in Durham, and my mother took me off to the dentist, and it was in the 1970s, and they said, you need 4 teeth out. Yeah. So I went off, I had gas in the dental chair, I had terrible nightmares, and amazingly, a year later, she got me back to repeat the experience. So that was C's, D's. Then we moved down to London, and I met a new dentist who sent me off to a specialist orthodontist, so I felt special. Yeah. And then he took out 4 first premolars under local anaesthetic, and the experience was transformative. No, it was great. I had nightmares under gas in the dental chair, and of course, people died having gas in the dental chair, so it's incredible to think that happened in my lifetime. Yeah. But he demonstrated great customer care. I experienced fabulous dentistry. He sent me off to a specialist to take advice before he made a decision. And then I had no pain, no bleeding, went back home without wobbling on a bus. And I think that was the moment I decided not only that I'd become a dentist, but I would become an orthodontist.
Wow, so you knew from your teenage years.
12 years old. So it made life planning really straightforward. So I did science GCSE, science A levels. I had a little wobble at 17 or 18 about whether I should do medicine. And my mother, who was a social worker, said, human needs are endless. Go and deal with problems you can solve. And why do you want to make life and death decisions? Wow. So that clinched it. So off I went to dental school. Wow. I chose Newcastle Dental School. And the story behind that was, having left Durham at the age of 10, my best enemy at the time, who turned my best friend a week before I moved house and is still amazingly 50 years later still one of my closest friends, wanted to do medicine in Newcastle. And she said, come to university, it's a great city. I thought it'd be wonderful to do dentistry with Judith doing medicine. Yes. She flunked her A-levels, went off to Leicester Poly, did performing arts with administration, and became a multimillionaire very early in life in the music industry.
She sounds like a very cool lady. I actually really want to know about the story about the enemy turned best friend. What was that about?
Well, I know, little girls not being very kind to one another, little rival gangs in the playground, that sort of thing. If you were part of my friendship circle, you weren't part of hers. And of course, why was that? Because we were very similar. And I mean, interestingly, she said that I was the first person that was ever going to be leaving her life, and she didn't like that. So we made friends, we wrote to each other pen pal letters until 16 years old, and met up again. Wow. Yeah. And if it hadn't been for Judith, I wouldn't have ended up going to Newcastle. No. So interesting twists and turns.
Yes. Yeah. So how was your time at uni?
Oh, well, I mean, hilariously, I actually thought I was on a 4-year and a term course.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I got there to discover actually it was a 5-year course.
Yes.
So in year 2, I had to reapply for my fees, and Harrow County Council wanted to know why I'd extended my course by 2 terms. But the advantage of being on a 5-year course was that we did get 6 to 8 weeks off in the holidays in the summer. Yes. So not only did I have a fabulous time educationally, socially, but I also had great summers where I went off interrailing and bussing around the States. Oh, you did? Yeah. Lovely. So although all dental students worked hard, we all worked a classical 9 to 5 day with Wednesday afternoons off. Yes. But we did have time for lots of fun. Yeah. We did have lots of fun, and the Dental Society was something else. Yeah. Sponsorship on a Friday night. Yeah. Wine and beer and cider and a quiz at 5:30 and
Yeah.
drinks in the bar and the pub afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I made the most of it. It was fun.
Were you part of different organisations when you were at university?
Yeah, my big interest actually. Well, I did lots of things. I rowed for the university.
Oh,
Given my
rowing.
enormous physique, you can see that I was absolutely cut
Broad
out for
shoulders.
rowing. And when I realised really I was a better musician than a sports person,
Yeah.
I stopped doing that. But I used to play saxophone in a swing band.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was very much involved with the Gilbert and Sullivan Society.
Oh.
Made a great group of friends, and amazingly, 40 years later, we still perform together alternate years in a little village hall in Yorkshire.
Wow.
We do a sing-through of an operetta.
Oh, do you play the sax?
I
Or you
sing.
sing?
I
Oh,
sing.
you
I
sing
sing
as
with the
well?
group. I sing with the
Wow.
group. And only a couple of weeks ago, we all got together to sing through an operetta, bringing with us some of our parents and some of our children.
Wow.
So here we are, 40 years later. People now in their 60s, many retired. Amazingly still have parents in their 80s and children. So we have now united 3 generations of friendships as a consequence of a group of people being 19 years old and performing in Iolanthe at the Tyne and Wear Theatre.
Wow.
I know.
Amazing.
Enduring friendships.
What a diverse saxophone, singing,
Yeah.
rowing,
And dentistry.
And dentistry, of course,
Yeah, I think that was everything. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then you graduate from Newcastle.
Yeah, well, I always wanted to do orthodontics.
Okay.
I mean, I'd become a dentist to become an orthodontist.
Right.
And I never wavered off that course until I had to, of course, do my general professional training.
Yes.
And I did 2 years of Max Fax.
Oh.
So I'm somebody that's always looked ahead and planned ahead. And
Yes.
when I was a house officer at the dental hospital, I was aware that there were about 3 registrars who'd got into the Eastman Dental Hospital to do orthodontics, and they had all done a particular Max Fax job in Gloucestershire.
Oh.
And it was a job where it was oral surgery and orthodontics.
Right.
So I got myself down there,
Oh.
got the job without it being advertised, because you could in those days.
Wow.
And the consultant orthodontist was somebody who would phone the Eastman and say, I've got this great SHO for you.
You need to take
And
her.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's how it was. I mean, I do obviously think that national recruitment has made things a lot fairer, but on the other hand, I noticed a trend. I created an opportunity. I took
Amazing.
advantage of that. Although interestingly, I didn't end up at the Eastman, but I loved oral surgery. What I discovered was I loved surgery. I enjoyed taking wisdom teeth out. I enjoyed stitching up drunks at midnight in casualty,
Yeah.
for a brief period of time. So I did 2 years of that.
Right.
And then I did have a second wobble actually about whether I should go and do medicine and become a career Max Fax surgeon. But
Oh, okay.
I only knew of one woman who was going down that career pathway at the time. And when you weigh up sort of the life work balance, being an orthodontist, if you like being an orthodontist, is going to be a lot easier to
Great
manage.
lifestyle.
Yeah. So
So how proactive of you then at 23 to go
Yeah.
and know which job you want and look
Yes.
into the pathway to get there, because that's unusual,
Yes.
isn't it?
Well,
So-
I mean, I only have myself to consider in the sense I don't know what other people did.
Yeah.
But when I noticed that there was a trend,
It was obvious to you to
I mean,
go
life
get it.
is like that. It's best
Yeah.
if you can create your own opportunities. You can't be a shrinking violet, can you?
No.
If you've got a burning passion to achieve something.
You can't achieve something being a shrinking violet. You need to bloom.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so I did a second year of Max Fax just because I thought, well, if I'm going to spend the rest of my career being an orthodontist, what's the rush? I might as well do a second year of something that I'm really enjoying. So having done this job in Gloucestershire, I then went to Bath, actually, 2 lovely parts of the world, and did a full-time oral surgery job. And then during that period, of course, we had to acquire fellowship. I'd done part 1 when in my first SHO job, part 2 in my second job. Then I needed some general dental practice experience, actually, but I also had a burning ambition to go travelling. So planning ahead at this time, I knew that there was a full-time course that was fully paid. That was the difference, because at that time, registrars were only paid half pay,
Okay.
whereas a new course was coming online that paid full pay,
Okay.
and it was in Bristol.
Okay.
So what I did was I did 6 months of general dental practice. I did a maternity locum. Then during that period, the course was advertised, so I went off, got interviews.
So this is your first time doing fillings?
Yes. Well, beyond being a house
No.
officer, I'd done kids, perio.
Oh, you did all that,
surgery.
through that.
But yeah, I mean, it was
Okay.
probably my first crown prep.
Yeah,
first
wow.
RCT.
Yeah.
Those sorts of things.
Wow.
Yes, of course, it was daunting, but I'm really glad I did it because it was like I'd never actually embraced BDS at that point properly. And I think it's really important that everybody has a chance. Well, of course, I think it's mandatory now, but it wasn't mandatory. Vocational training was had just come in, but it wasn't mandatory when I qualified. So I did 6 months in general dental practice. The Bristol course was advertised during that time, so I applied, got on it, and then went immediately off travelling. So let's say I got the job in January, February, and then I just cleared off to go skiing, and I went skiing for a month and then backpacked around the world, returning about a week before I was to start in Bristol.
Who did you travel with?
I went by myself.
Oh, wow. That's brave.
It was brave.
Your mum loved that.
Yeah, I know. It was pre-mobile phone, pre-internet.
Wow.
So what I used to do is and does the phrase post-restant mean anything to you?
No.
Letters, does letter? You're old enough to know a letter. So yeah, I used to write great long letters home, and then I would tell my friends where I was likely to be, and they had to reply to me post-restant.
Wow.
That meant they could write to the local post office, and I would pitch up in whatever city I was, and I'd go to the post office and say, post-restant, have you got any letters for me?
Wow.
And then, of course, there were letters, and that made me
so exciting.
connected with home.
Yeah.
And of course, if I wanted to phone home, I had to go off and buy a calling card or do reverse charges.
Yeah.
So yes, but I would have preferred a companion, but no one else was available at the time that it suited me to travel.
You did it anyway.
So I did it anyway.
Wow.
But it's one of those. But you know, when you're young and foolish and ignorant
And fearless.
of course, I took the most ridiculous risks and made crazy decisions. But that brought a reward in itself because
Was
I
it
had
wonderful?
a fabulous time. Of course, I had a fabulous time. It broadened the mind.
Yeah.
But when I think back about some of the risks I took, I might sweat a bit at night now.
Yeah, so brave.
With the memories.
Yeah.
So I came back to Bristol, 1993.
Yeah.
Did a very intense specialist training, 93 to 96.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there was the next decision: was it to be specialist practice or was it to be a consultant post? And it was unusual at that time because most people did one or the other. You didn't tend to mix the two, but I wanted a foot in two camps. And not only that, but I'd been introduced to a very nice man called John Bennett, who had a very prestigious practice in well, it wasn't Harley Street, it was the West End. And he became a kind of a mentor and said to me that he thought I would do well in private practice, which I took as an invitation to join him.
Yeah.
Thinking ahead.
Yeah.
So I did have in mind that one day I'd like to work with John.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to do senior registrar training so that I could become familiar with orthognathic work. So I moved back to London because at this point I'd met my future husband. Yes, when I was in Bristol.
Okay.
Yeah, and we agreed that London was the best place where we could have an equal opportunity for a career.
Yeah. Was he studying there as well?
Yeah,
was
he was at the Poly.
Yeah,
as
okay.
was. So he was an undergraduate.
Oh wow!
Yes.
So you're younger man.
7 years younger. So we came to London. In fact, then we went off travelling a second time together for 4 months. Then we moved back to London. Yep. But it took me quite a while to get a senior job in London. It was a bit nepotistic. I wasn't a London undergraduate or London postgraduate. So on about the third time.
Where are your parents?
Well, they live in North London.
Oh, okay.
And my husband's family were in
Your
Suffolk.
accent's very London.
It is.
Despite having
for a northeastern girl. I know. You acclimatise to your environment.
Yeah.
Anyway, third time lucky.
Yeah.
I got my senior registrar training which was at the Eastman. So eventually I did end up at the Eastman and Roehampton. And 4 years later, I was accredited as a consultant, having just had my first child.
Oh wow.
Yes. So I would have been about, oh my goodness, I mean, it's such a long training pathway. You know, if you want to be a hospital consultant, they've streamlined it now, but then I was 34 when I accredited, having sat my first exam in dentistry at the age of 18, last exam at 34.
Wow.
That's endurance, isn't it?
That is.
Yeah. And then, of course, by this point, I was then looking for part-time practice and a part-time consultant post, and we had settled in Belsize Park, which we were enjoying living in. And so all of a sudden I found that I kept having these new barriers put up in some way to opportunity, because all of a sudden it's like, well, we really like living here, and we would like to base a life from this area, and how not many part-time posts in London come up, actually. So another few years of sort of treading a bit of water and waiting for opportunity, but eventually, 3 years later. So I mean, in the big picture, it felt like eternity at the time, but perhaps not. I got appointed to a part-time job at Watford General Hospital, where I still am. So,
wow,
21 years, Manrina.
Wow,
21 years of working in a porter cabin in Watford, but with some good colleagues doing some interesting work.
Wow.
And then, of course, I also still had a burning ambition to own my own practice. You know, it wasn't that I just wanted to work in practice. I wanted it to be mine, and I wanted to be able to express my entrepreneurial side.
Yeah.
So I looked at a vast number of practices, and I had a couple of goes at partnership. One of, the whole podcast stories in themselves, some of which I've shared already, but after instructing lawyers about 5 or 6 times over a number of years, and feeling like I myself had a problem, that I myself was like a refusing horse. I would see an opportunity, I would get to the final hurdle, and then I'd pull out. And I thought that I myself didn't have the guts to close the deal. And a friend of mine, nurse, actually, you know how so often in life, when you've had stability in a surgery with the same nurse for a number of years, you know, you become quite close friends.
Definitely.
Good team.
Definitely.
And my Irish nurse, I said to her, I don't think I'd recognise the right opportunity if it hit me in the face. And she said, you will, Claire, you will. And sure enough, one day when I was in a bit of a trough, because the partnership relationship I'd been angling for hadn't worked out for various reasons, I got a call.
Were the partner practices orthodontic practices?
Yeah. I got a call from a lovely chap called Rod Edwards, who had set up Queensgate Orthodontics as a squat in 1989. He was looking to retire, and he just wanted to hand over to a safe pair of hands.
He called you?
He called me. Oh. Yeah, we had met professionally, and he knew that an opportunity. He knew that I was looking. He knew that an opportunity hadn't worked out. So he called, invited me round. He opened the door of his basement flat, and I stepped across the threshold, and this was the one. Yeah, I just knew. The big smile on his face. Yeah. That the fact that the opportunity was manageable. It was.
There's lovely energy at your practice.
Oh,
you walk in and you feel that, don't you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we were pleased to have you there for the time that you were there.
Yeah.
Yes, it's got a nice feel.
It has.
And I just sensed that.
Yeah.
And it was all very manageable, you see. Yeah. It was a big investment, but it was largely in bricks and mortar, so I wasn't locked into...
Yeah, how lovely to own property in central London.
Yes.
In a location like that.
All property comes with its burdens, but at least I wasn't locked into a full insuring and repairing lease on an upward only rent review, that sort of thing, which of course the West End is all based like that. Yes. So yeah, I admire you. You took a bigger risk than me. So I bought a going concern, you see, but it was a very manageable practice, because Rod was only running it part-time, and I was looking for a part-time opportunity because I still had my consultant post, and by the time this opportunity came my way, I had 3 kids.
Oh, I see, yes.
So life was busy.
Yeah.
Life was busy. Anyway, so I bought that in 2012.
So how did you manage that, 3 kids, while you were doing all these training? You had your training post.
I'd finished. I had been very lucky in that I had managed to have the first baby just as I finished. I'd just accredited. I'd finished my final exams.
Fine. So you were at Watford working.
No, I was finishing at the Eastman then.
Eastman.
So I mean, how people study whilst they have small children, or how they run businesses and have small children. Hats off. Don't ask me. I didn't have to do it.
Okay.
You know, I was very lucky that the fertility journey panned out well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you took your maternity leave, time off.
Yes. So I went back to work in the hospital, but not as a consultant, because again, it took a while to wait for the right opportunity. Yeah. So my youngest was 6 months when I went back to, oldest 6 months when I went back to work. Yeah. And second child, I was on maternity leave with her when the Watford opportunity came up.
Okay.
And then it was years later before, and then I'd already I'd completed my family by the time I bought a business.
Right.
So it meant that I came to business life late, actually. Business ownership was late. As I said, I didn't think that, I thought I had a problem, a block about buying. But actually, now I realise I was doing my due diligence. And the right opportunity just didn't come my way.
Listening to your gut,
Yeah.
which is so important.
Yeah, and you know, one of my tips, I know you're going to ask at the end, but would be, you know, make decisions on business principles, not on emotion.
Yeah.
You know, that's important. It's very difficult when you get wrapped up either trying to buy somewhere where you work already and you've had your heart on for some time, not to let emotion override good business principles. But anyway, I fortunately hung out for the right opportunity and made something of it.
Yeah, lovely. So that takes you to where you are now.
Well, I mean, the journey of practice ownership, I bought an ongoing concern, but it was very, very old-fashioned. And although obviously I was fortunate in the sense I already had cash flow, I had a client base, but I had to, I mean, I didn't take it to the beautiful glories that you have done.
But you did.
But
and you won awards for what you've done with the place.
Yes, I have. Yes, I did. I mean, you know, I had to bring
your waiting room, like the wallpaper with the books.
Like
that's just, you know, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's design.
Well, I refurbished slowly. So it had two old-fashioned surgeries when I bought it. The chairs didn't go up and down, and there was no 3-in-1 and no overhead light. So I mean, I put the first surgery in within 6 weeks, and then the second one a year later, second and third a year or so later, refurbished out of cash flow, so I had no debt over and above the exorbitant debt I had acquired when I bought it and the building, and then finally refurbished what I call the common parts, you know, the waiting room, actually 10 years ago now. But yes, I designed it myself, and I often wonder why the juxtaposition of the patterns and the colours that I've chosen. But I've realised that I've got beautiful global wallpaper, London wallpaper, and I realise what I've said is Queensgate Orthodontics is in London. Yeah. And then my waiting room wallpaper, which you allude to, I've realised is the Royal Albert Hall.
Oh.
That's what I've got, and because I like performance, so I realise what I've done is I've got this lovely monochrome paper of people sitting in boxes with curtains looking out waiting for performance, and I've realised that we are performers as dentists. We're on show all day long.
Amazing.
Aren't we? And it's all very I mean, I clearly I like performance.
You do, you know, I singing,
yes, exactly,
comedy now
I when I was 18, another wobble I had was whether I should do a music degree or dentistry. So I was torn between music, dentistry, medicine. Not actually as uncommon as we think.
No.
A lot of, I've spoken to a number of people who also made those decisions at 18.
Mine was theatre and dentistry.
Indeed you have been a film star.
Oh, there you go.
There you are. So I've realised that performance is a strong theme throughout my life, and therefore I've created this waiting room without, anyway, I'm larging it up. But yes, so Queensgate Orthodontics. So
and you've got that large brown cupboard with the cubby holes, which is very cool.
Yes.
Was that already there?
Yes. That is pretty much the only surviving remnant of my purchase of the practice.
But a cool thing to keep.
It's sweet. It was rod stored models, study models in it. But I've realised what it looks like. It looks like Harry Potter's wand shop.
Yeah, it
and
does.
People are intrigued by it.
Yeah.
And of course, and I have kept it because it's really useful storage. But it doesn't store study models anymore. We've got toothbrushes and scanning tips.
Yeah.
But they're still hugely useful. Yeah. And stylish.
Yes.
Yes. So Queensgate Orthodontics. Again, you know, many podcasts in itself, as no doubt you would say of your own business. Yeah. Taking it from an old-fashioned way of working, carrying staff through change of ownership, through change of working practice.
Did team members stay?
One did. I inherited 2. We parted ways with one. The other one had corporate memory and was very valuable actually for the first 5 years, because unlike when I sold my own practice, which no doubt we'll come on to, where there was a huge amount of due diligence and handing over huge amounts of stuff, actually nothing was handed over to me. There was no practice manual that came. So even things like, when we needed to change the website, it was only my receptionist stroke practice administrator who said, oh yes, there was a young lad who did that. I remember, I'll contact him. And of course, if you lose your domain name, if you don't have the password, you that's a big deal, isn't it? If you've branded as Queensgate Orthodontics and you don't actually know the login details for the domain name.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a boob. Anyway, so Queensgate Orthodontics. So it came on quite a journey. So I bought in 2012. Treated. It was a conventional specialist practice, largely treating children, largely using fixed appliances, getting busier and busier and busier, up until 2019, when of course was just ahead of the pandemic. So the pandemic happened, and that was a real catalyst for change. So it was during the pandemic I'd set up my two things. Scanner, bought my first iTero scanner in 2019.
Right.
And there were plenty of things actually. The pandemic.
That's quite ahead of the time. I feel like they're more commonplace now, but in 2019, not that many people had them.
That's true. And I was led. Scanning tech, people around me, so people whose opinions I valued, were starting to talk about scanning technology. And one of my friends, Sheila Chowan, who you'll know, had bought her first iTero and was raving about it. So she persuaded me, and Catherine McCanny also persuaded me to buy.
It felt like such an. I know that when I came to your clinic, it felt like such an exciting thing, and I was like, I have no idea how to use this thing, and you're like, oh,
did you give it a try when you were in those? Did you use?
No.
Did you not try my?
No, it was this machine that was a mystery that I didn't know how to use. Obviously, we have them now; we use them every day.
Yes,
but at the time, it felt like now obviously I know how easy it is.
Yes.
But at the time, it just felt like this real oh wow, what is this thing? It's so cool, but it's so don't know what that is. Yeah.
So of course, what happened when on buying that scanner was it made the whole Invisalign workflow so easy.
Yes.
No more putty and wash impressions that took forever and then maybe didn't come out and you'd have to repeat them and all of that.
Was there issues you think with Invisalign previously where it just didn't work? Do you think Invisalign's improved now
no doubt.
from where it was maybe 10 years ago?
Well, I've been an accredited Invisalign user for about 20 plus years.
So me too. 2004 I did my Invisalign course. So a long time ago. But I just feel like,
of course, their investment in technology is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So yes, I think it's a fabulous system. But of course, it's still only a way of delivering orthodontic treatment. You've still got to plan the cases properly and understand what you're doing.
And they have to wear them.
And they have to wear them. So I bought my scanner. I also in 2019 lectured probably for the first time in my own name at the orthodontic conference and talked in the business forum. Met Chris Barrow properly. Chris came up and said that how much he'd enjoyed my lecture, and at the same time I'd met another Chris Baker, who I then used to help me enter the various awards. So the pandemic happened on the 20th of January 2020. That was quite a significant day. I had just set up my first 5 cases of Invisalign with dental monitoring. Chris Barrow had interviewed me for his business platform, to go on his business website, and I said somewhat prophetically, he said, what does the future look like? And I said, well, Chris, we're going to be talking to each other like this, i.e. over Zoom. We're going to be treating people with clear aligners and we're going to be monitoring them remotely. And then within 6 weeks we went into a national lockdown.
And that was really what was happening.
So I listened to that interview. Where's my crystal?
Could you give us a premonition today as well? Because we'd love to know what's about to happen.
So, and during lockdown, during those 3 months, the only patients I knew how they were doing were the ones on dental monitoring. And in addition, I also got all of my paperwork in order in the sense of all my policies and procedures up to date, and I also prepared a lot of material to enter for the dentistry and the private dentistry awards.
We had time to
do
things like that.
That was my time. 3 months of working on the business. Which, as opposed to in the business, we couldn't work in the business, we were closed. So when we came back to work, obviously once we got through all it just seems a fantasy, doesn't it, that it all happened
And then it
to
was
us.
essential appointments only. So are Invisalign reviews essential appointments? I think probably they are. If they're, yeah.
And all of the, you know, all
There
of
was
the
that whole
air
thing, like,
filtration,
what are we allowed to,
rotating
the changing
patients,
half an hour changeovers.
PPE,
yeah,
all
the
of that.
PPE.
I know. Anyway, so once we'd got through all of that, I basically said, well, what became clear to me was that the more people that we treated conveniently, the better. So that would be Invisalign.
Yeah.
And patients don't want to have to come in for unnecessary appointments. So
Especially not in
using
London.
dental monitoring
Yeah.
was a game changer. So I said we're going to do treat as many patients with Invisalign as possible, and they're all going on dental monitoring.
And how does dental monitoring compare to Invisalign's monitoring?
Well, that's a great question, because I haven't engaged with Invisalign's virtual care for the simple reason that when dental monitoring came out, it was AI based, whereas the virtual care was a manual based system at the time.
yeah.
Dental monitoring is treatment agnostic, meaning that you can use any aligner system with it, and also it's got fixed brace monitoring.
Yeah.
So for a practice, so I'm not exclusively Invisalign, I'm about 75% Invisalign, 25% fixed braces. But
Yeah.
once I saw the very positive impact that taking care of my patients with Invisalign and dental monitoring meant, which was basically, the patients, I think, got better treatment. They had to come in less, but we could still dial into the platform and every week and look at how they were doing. It meant there was a lot more white space in the diary. So all the stressful things in life, like equipment failure, train strikes, jury service, staff sickness, all these things which as a business owner you have to manage, and it always falls on our shoulders to resolve all these problems. But you treating patients more conveniently and not having to bring them in so often meant all those extra things were managed and became much less stressful.
Yeah.
So I looked at the impact that dental monitoring and clear aligners had on my business, and basically the turnover had gone up and the attendance had plummeted, and I call it my Nirvana graph, working smarter, not harder, making more money but with less stress. And on the back of it, and then of course we introduced all sorts of digital changes as well. After the pandemic, it went entirely paperless, refurbished a bit more. So the story is that in the pandemic we won best practice in the UK in the dentistry awards. But
I remember that day.
I remember that
Yeah.
day. It was a lovely celebration.
Yeah.
And then 18 months later, when I demonstrated all these very positive impacts that digital change had happened, we then won the most transformed practice in the UK
amazing.
and Ireland in the Invisalign Awards.
Yeah.
So that kind of the punchline is, how did we go from being a practice that was always already very good to becoming a most transformed practice? And the
Yeah.
answer was, we went from analog to digital.
Yes.
We embraced change.
And it's such a time of change at the moment, isn't it? There's so many exciting introductions with AI and the way that the world is moving.
Yeah.
And obviously through this whole journey, I said to you just when you came today, and I'll say it to the camera now, that I felt like the minute that I met Claire through the Women's Dentists Network at an event, and I connected with you immediately. I thought, I like you, I remembered you, and I wanted to know you. And then obviously through that, and sometimes you meet people like that in life, and then they become part of your journey, and you really did have become an important part of my journey when I tell my story. And then you're an important part there of allowing me to create my dreams. So because that's the sort of person you are. And so when I created my mentorship program, obviously the first person that I thought of as an orthodontist to go to help with my mentees and to become part of that was you. And then I reached out back to you and said, "Oh, Claire, of all the orthodontists in the world, would you want to become part of this?" And you did, and we love having you then. How's that been for you? Have you enjoyed? You've been with us just over a year now as our orthodontic advisor on the mentorship program. So when they have questions, obviously there's a lot of Invisalign going on already, and they're quite skilled, a lot of my mentees in Invisalign. Yeah. But when we don't know the answer, then you're there, and then we're like, "Oh, Claire, what do you think?" And how's that been for you?
Well, I mean, I think that, as you said, skilled people don't, and there's a lot of opportunities for education out. There's a lot of support clinically. So perhaps I haven't been as needed within the mentee group as might have been expected, but I'm always happy to be asked.
Yes.
And I enjoyed doing my interview with you.
Yes.
On your session, I think that the effort that you're putting in on a personal level into that group is absolutely remarkable. You must never rest.
I love it though,
and
it doesn't feel like work for me looking after my mentorship program.
Good.
Really
and
enjoy
there's
it.
a lot of enthusiasm.
There's a lot of enthusiasm, and so it's all reciprocated.
Yes, exactly. And actually, what you detailed a few minutes ago about our meeting is that we have collaborated.
Yes.
and that I love collaboration and teamwork and support and mentorship. And I think that that's what a great professional relationship is about. It's about being mutually supportive and having each other's back.
Agreed. That's beautiful. Thank you. We need to round up, but we can't finish without, and I know you've already given a bit of advice, and but maybe you've got some advice that you could give out to our listeners that they could take away with them, with that little bit of Claire Nightingale that they can keep in their pocket.
Okay. Well, when I look back on my own journey, I would say I allowed myself to be in situations that were going nowhere for too long. Okay, so get out of situations, that are detrimental to your well-being sooner rather than later. Don't hang about hoping that other people are going to create opportunities for you. You're going to have to go out there and create your own. And then be mindful of stress on your well-being. And remember that stress is deleterious to one's physical health. So protect yourself.
Yes, thank you. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Claire. Really enjoyed talking to you as always, and hope to see you soon.
Absolutely.